everyone, this is Peak Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you, and we're going to talk about a movie called The Mean Season and why I think it's one of the most underrated mystery thrillers within the 1980s. Released back in February the 15th, 1985, it stars Kurt Russell, Mariel Hemmingway, Andy Garcia, Richard Masur, and it was directed by Philip Barros. The movie was based on a novel titled In the Heat of the Summer, written by John Katzenbach from 1982. Now, The Mean Season follows the story of news reporter Malcom Anderson, who after returning from vacation feels burned out from constantly covering murder stories and expresses desires to leave the industry into a new life with his teacher girlfriend Christine. Now, all of a sudden, Malcolm's life changes when a serial killer committing a series of murders makes contact with him via phone call, wanting to build a connection with him. Now, Malcolm's life becomes a consistent nightmare as the killer persists with contacting him, forcing Malcolm to constantly interact with him as he is the only key into the police apprehending the killer. Now, the ordeal causes fractions in his relationship with Christine as the two end up fighting for their lives. Now, when looking back at The Mean Season, it really is a solid compelling thriller with continuing levels of paranoia, escalation and suspense, and it really does keep you gripped into the story all the way through. It starts off steadily, easing its way into the plot, and then increasingly becomes more darker, more creepier and unsettling. It does keep you guessing as to who the culprit is, and when you eventually find out, it still remains a tense watch. It's that familiar ironic story of a news reporter or a media individual successful in covering the news without too much of a conscience, but then they actually become the story itself. And then they soon realise what it's like to be the target of attention and scrutiny. They suddenly realise all of the pressures and the discontent that they normally cause themselves when they are trying to gather information on the individuals. And the film does set a good amount of time and focus to show how the intrusion and spotlight of the media affects certain individuals, and the situation here is even more empathetic as Malcolm simply cannot walk away from this situation. He cannot depart the news as originally intended. He's compelled to stay in constant danger as it's the only way that he can have any chance to control his destiny and save both himself and his girlfriend. Now, The Mean Season primarily works because of the central performance of Kurt Russell. Now, I've commented many times on this channel how he remains one of the all-time great versatile actors from the 1980s especially. Look at the run that he had throughout this time, so many great movies, all of different genres, and Russell tends to be great in nearly all of them. And that's certainly the case here with The Mean Season, as he convincingly portrays all of the anxiety, the stress, the danger, the burden that his character goes through, and again it keeps you engaged to the story. And is this type of role the more typical everyman put under extraordinary circumstances that Kurt Russell would really come to perfect, and we would see this later on after this release in movies such as Unlawful Entry and Breakdown, both of which are very good also. And to be fair, Mariel Hemmingway is also very good and looking very beautiful at this time as Christine, and she has some very good scenes with both Russell and the killer also later on, and we see their relationship as it becomes increasingly under strain throughout the ordeal. And the movie overall was very well directed. Perhaps the only issue that I had was the certain newspaper scenes where we get these Godfather type of headline pages being circulated and zoomed into the screen, and then the music that was playing in the background really felt at odds with the more darker material of the story. The tone of this soundtrack had this much more brighter, optimistic, newsreel type of footage, and that really felt at odds with what was actually going on within the film itself. Now, when we look at the movie's overall release, and sadly Mean Season wasn't a box office success, only garnering around $4 million gross from around a $10 million budget. But when we really look at it, especially at the time of release, Mean Season is one of the big shifts tonally into the much more darker, deconstructive, much more adult and cynical type of movie that we would see, especially in the more cop thriller or the mystery story. This would be executed later on with the likes of To Live and Die in LA, Michael Mann's Manhunter, Cop starring James Woods. Really much more of that adult, unsettling tone that would very much deal with the themes of obsession, cynicism, loneliness, and it could even be argued that the behaviour of the serial killer, the fact that he's very much a recluse and mentally unhinged because of the lack of interaction, those are traits that are certainly much more relevant, much more showcased in not only movies but also culture today, especially when we look at the certain attitudes shown within social media. So I do think there's a lot more relevance within the Mean Season that many people probably wouldn't see at the time. So whilst I wouldn't put it up there into the upper levels of the truly outstanding movies within Kurt Russell's career, I do think overall it's a very fine, compelling and very interesting movie, again covering those certain themes of individuals being in the spotlight themselves and really taking a look at the certain pressures that they put other people under and how it's not so nice being the topic of the story yourself as opposed to somebody making up the story around somebody else. So those are my other thoughts and feelings when looking back at the mystery drama The Mean Season from 1985. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you have any other movies, television series or any other topics within the pop entertainment and culture scene that you'd like to see me cover within the channel, then also let me know within the comments and I'll see if I can provide further commentary for you on that subject matter within the future. Please also hit like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves and I will see you very, very soon.